Joining me now is former Ohio Secretary of State, Republican Ken Blackwell. He's a member of what is officially called the Presidential Advisory Commission on Election Integrity. Thank you very much for joining us. When you were in charge of Ohio, how much election fraud and voter fraud did you experience?
Well, let me tell you, what we don't know is what we don't know. And we have a very, very complicated system where we can't get at certain information, and the federal government definitely can't get at it. So what we need to do is to have a system that basically says our mission is to look at the integrity of our election process, look at the vulnerabilities, look at the threats in a new information age to the principle of one person, one vote. Our voting laws are set up to do two things. One, to make it relatively easy to register and to cast a vote. But on the other hand, that is balanced by the need to protect legal ballots from illegal ballots. And as a consequence, what we're looking for is information that will give us a greater sense right now of what our exposure is as a collective system. We don't have one system. We, in fact, have 50 systems plus the District of Columbia, and that makes we either are driven by cooperation and mutual interest because we're not driven by government force.
Secretary, there have been investigations. There have been studies on this, a number of them, and nobody has found any widespread instances of voter fraud. In fact, there was Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Please stop, just for 1 second, so I can just let me ask my question, and then you can answer it. Stop for a second.
All right, I'll answer your question.
A study done, and this is not a partisan study, a study done by a Loyola law professor, found in 14 years from 2000 on, that there were 31 cases of maybe voter fraud in 1 billion ballots. That is a 14-year study. If this is not a widespread thing, if nobody has ever found widespread instances of voter fraud, what is the purpose of this commission?
Let me say that the Pew Foundation found that we have corrupted voter registration files, which means that we have folks who have either registered to vote in 2 states, or we have folks who are still registered to vote who happen to be dead, and you create vulnerabilities for the integrity of the system. Let's be clear, this is about not millions of votes. If you go back to 1976, Ohio was decided by less than 12,000 votes. That was less than 1 vote per precinct. You don't need a million, you don't need 100,000 corrupted votes. You only needed 6,000 corrupted votes in the state of Ohio. If, in fact, you go to Florida, 2,000, that decision, and it was the pivotal decision in that state, was less than 600 votes. If you have vulnerabilities in the system that allow illegal ballots to be cast, you destroy the integrity and the confidence in the system.
Secretary,
I will tell you right now.
Secretary, we're running out of time, and I want to ask you one more question.
You told me. Okay, well, let me finish this.
Can I ask you another question? Otherwise, this is going to be your last answer.
Okay, you don't have to have my bank robbed before I want my bank to get out in front of the vulnerabilities of safety of my money. The same is for ballots and votes. The integrity of our system is by protecting the person's, the individual's vote. That is Their vote is their voice.
I don't
if you
think
negate their voice,
anybody
you
is going to
negate
argue
their
with
participation
protecting the
in the
integrity
system.
of the voting system.
I know, and that,
I don't think
and
anyone
that's
will
why
argue
we
with that.
need to
Here's
get together.
my question
that's
to you.
That's why we need to get. That's why we need to get together.
You cited a Pew study, and I think we need to point out that the Pew study, I'm assuming you cited because this is the one that was sent out by the White House. It's a 2012 Pew study. They said that they couldn't find instances of voter fraud, actually ballots cast, but rather bad record keeping about who was on the voter rolls. So that's one point we should point out, number one. And number two, if you're talking about election integrity, sir, hold on, let me finish. If you're talking about election integrity, is this commission looking into interference in our elections by a foreign entity, maybe Russia hacking into our election systems? Is that part of this commission? Because that seems like a pretty serious thing.
And on that, we could agree. Any bad actor, whether foreign or domestic, any action that corrupts the integrity of our system should be fair game for our exploration. Let's be clear about something. We have the best system on the face of the earth, but it is only when we are acting in a bipartisan way, as we have over the years, to protect the integrity of the system, do we, in fact, protect the voices of the voter.
So why is there bipartisan pushback against this? Why are Republican states and Democratic states pushing back against this? If this is all kosher,
there are a lot of secretaries. Can I talk? There are a lot of secretaries of state like myself who are basically adherents to the 10th Amendment. We know that the genius of our system is in its decentralization. There's not one central government that controls the process. While that is a blessing, it can also be a curse when we're at odds. In Ohio, we have 88 county boards of elections, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and they get the job done. Nationally, we have to have that sort of bipartisan cooperation. I've been on boards and commissions with Steny Horner. I've been on boards and commissions with Bill Gardner, and they are of the Democratic Party, and we've gotten things done because we knew that working cooperatively together is the way that we get things done. We can fuss and fight about voter ID or how early voting should be structured. But at the end of the day, we all should be concerned about the vulnerabilities in the system. And as I was saying, we don't wait until our banks are robbed before we expect the banks to protect the integrity of the system. That's all that we're talking about.
Secretary Blackwell.
That's all that we're talking about.